In this section, we have learned about some alternative state management techniques that we can use in Flutter, and we have seen how to use them in practice with the signing flows in our application. However, up to this point, we have only considered examples where the same widget updates the model and rebuilds itself accordingly. What we have not seen is how to use these state management techniques to propagate data from one producer widget to one or more consumer widgets. And we already know that using the conventional technique of lifting state up doesn't work too well in this scenario. Well, the good news is that the provider package can really help us here, because we could use it to define a change notifier provider, which is an ancestor of our producers and consumers, and then we can define a model class that uses change notifier to notify its listeners. And we can define consumers that are rebuilt when notify listeners is called. And the good thing about this approach is that only the actual listeners are rebuilt, while all the other widgets do not change. And you can have this setup not only with change notifier, but with value notifier or even blocks if that's what you want to use. So you're free to choose any of these state management techniques according to your own preferences and the requirements of your use cases. In any case, the provider package works really well with all these techniques, and the reason for that is that the whole point of provide is that we can use it to provide things in your widget tree. So I can highly recommend Provider as a dependency injection system for Flutter. And if you can, I suggest that you spend some time getting familiar with Provider and some of the other things that it can do that we haven't covered in this course. Finally, I want to talk about blocks one more time, because we have now seen that value notifier and change notifier are simpler alternatives to block. So do we even need to use blocks at all? Well, once again, it depends. There are some use cases that rely heavily on streams. For example, if you're building a complex application that reads a lot of data from Firestore and you want that application to be reactive and update itself when the data changes, then you will have a lot of input streams. And in that case, it may be appropriate to set up some blocks so that you can work with these streams and even use some advanced stream merging techniques that are available with RxDart. So blocks may work well for you in those use cases. Another example could be an application that needs to track the user location, and you could think about the user location as a stream of coordinates, and every time there is a new location update, then a new coordinate is added to the stream. So using blocks may work well in this case. However, if all you care about is managing state that is local to your application and doesn't come from external services, then value notifier and change notifier can be simpler alternatives to blocks. And at this point, I'd like to share a quote from Albert Einstein because I think it applies well to state management. So Albert Einstein once said that everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. And I think that this is a good mantra when writing code. So the secret really is to try to be pragmatic and choose the right tools for the job. And now that you have reached this point in the course, you are very well equipped with Provider and different state management techniques that you can use as needed. Okay, so let's continue on the next video.